Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast. Time to hashtag everything. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media. From Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Thanks for tuning in to the GSMC Social Media Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Devin Harris. Hey, how you doing? So I got a pretty interesting show for you today. Today we'll be talking about Kanye and Harry Styles. They both have album hype that they just dropped this past week. We'll talk a little bit about the Instagram arrest. Kevin Gaines filmed a carjacking live on his Instagram leading to his arrest, so we'll get into that. We'll talk a little bit about TikTok and which dating app could you find Channing Tatum on. Keep listening to find out. So both Harry Styles and Kanye dropped pretty big albums this past week. Kanye dropped Jesus is Born, his follow-up album to Jesus is King, while Harry Styles just dropped his second studio album, Fine Line. So Kanye dropped Jesus is Born on Christmas, and it is met with overwhelmingly positive reviews. Being the third album in his kind of gospel trilogy, first being Life of Pablo, then being Jesus is King, and now Jesus is Born. Jesus is King was kind of a letdown to fans, and I have to agree with that. I wasn't very impressed coming from Life of Pablo to Jesus is King, and then now I'm actually very impressed with what he's done. I rather like the music. I like the remixes. Father Stretch and Ultralight Beam took me by surprise. Rain is also a top track, so I like what he's doing. I like where he's going with this, and I think, as Forbes said, this new album is kind of the Christmas gift that we've all deserved. Harry Styles, on the other hand, just dropped Fine Line, which is his second studio album. We've been waiting 2 years, and I have to say, this one does not disappoint. So it starts out a little bit slow. Styles starts off the album with tracks that have been heard on the radio in the past couple of months, such as Watermelon Sugar and Adore You, but it really picks up on Cherry. The fifth track demonstrates a kind of indie, softer folk pop that we haven't really heard from Styles, and contrasted to the sixth track, Falling, which is a more dark, romantic song. It's new for him, and it's very enjoyable to listen to. I was quite shocked during my initial listen through, and delighted, actually, of how his sound has changed and how versatile what he's putting out is, and I'm very interested to see where he is going to go, because it's not typical for a former boy band member, minus Justin Timberlake, to branch off and branch out from what made them famous and to find this much success, and the fact that this album has shot to number one on Billboard so quickly. I think Harry Styles, who is really fleshing himself out and discovering who he wants to be and sort of dabbling in androgyny and style and not confining himself to what other artists, what other producers say he should be. I think he'll find great success, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else he does in the upcoming years. In other music news, is it any surprise that Ariana Grande has released yet another album? Ariana Grande delivered an early Christmas present with her new live album, Okay, Bye For Now, in very Sweetener fashion, which focuses on all of the Sweetener tracks. They're just sung live. She dropped this on Monday, the Monday after Christmas. The album features 32 tracks from her recent world tour, including renditions of No Tears Left to Cry and Thank You Next. It seems like Grande has had quite the year, from her dropping 2 albums in less than a year to getting engaged to Pete Davidson, to losing Mac Miller, one of her other exes, to then splitting from Pete Davidson. I feel like although tragedy has been in her corner, she's overcome the adversity with such a grace, and she puts all of her sadness and her emotion into her music, and it seems like it's really paying off for her. The aforementioned live album laces together almost every song from both Sweetener and Thank You Next, as well as additional highlights like Side to Side and Dangerous Woman from her earlier EPs. Instagram Live responsible for the capture of a criminal. Apparently, after a short police chase in Florida, police found a criminal that they were looking for after a carjacking with help of Instagram Live. Gaines was arrested on a charge of possession of a firearm and warrants for Grand Theft Auto, criminal mischief, and no driver's license, along with warrants for bond revocation. After fleeing police in an attempted arrest, a man was then found in a home via the police officer watching the suspect live on Instagram. A deputy verified they were at the correct house by shining a flashlight in the window and seeing the light in the background of the video that Kevin Gaines, the suspect, was streaming live. Gaines was then caught and taken into custody by police. In more social media news, what is a Visco girl? A new social media term is gaining popularity, and it describes a lifestyle of reusable straws, hair scrunchies, and Birkenstocks. Visco girls, VSCO, are the latest subculture to arise from apps such as TikTok and Instagram, where millennials and Gen Zers are often heavily influenced by one another. The name comes from the Visco editing app, which is used for its filters that create a consistent social media aesthetic. So what does it mean to be a Visco girl? Apparently, the term is used to describe female teenagers who dress and act in a certain manner that is virtually indistinguishable from one another both online and in real life. In my personal opinion, in a world where everybody is trying so hard to be like one another and following the latest and greatest trend and trying to make everything look aesthetically pleasing, wouldn't you much rather want to stand out and create something new? I feel that we are now in an era. We'll be right back with the GSMC Social Media Podcast. In a way to make your life look perfect. We're kind of in this place in society where we are owning up not only to the struggles that we have trying to make our lives look perfect, but also the plight of mental health and coming clean with ourselves and people around us that things aren't perfect and we're wasting our time and energy trying to make them seem perfect. The popularity of Visco girls has also kind of resulted in meme culture, where the whole essence of being a Visco girl is mocked for its lack of distinctiveness. And I don't know about you, but that's not what I want people to think about when they think of me. Coming up, we'll talk a little bit about Kim Kardashian and her recent lupus scare. We'll talk about her relationship with her grandmother MJ, and we'll just catch up on the latest Kardashian news.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
recent footage has been released of Keeping Up with the Kardashians star Kim Kardashian talking with her grandmother MJ in a special bonus clip about her rheumatoid arthritis and possible lupus diagnosis. In the clip, the reality star is pictured with her grandmother telling her about how she suddenly woke up one day and couldn't feel her hands and couldn't zip her pants, lift her toothbrush, hold her phone, or clip her bra. And apparently this led her to seeking out help from doctors. And it was eventually figured out that she had psoriatic arthritis, which is still an autoimmune disease. It's not lupus, but it is an incurable autoimmune disease. And so I was reflecting on this yet another health condition that Kim Kardashian has come out with having, and I made a mental note of just all of the health concerns, health conditions that Kim has had in the past couple of years, starting with her infertility struggle. She struggled after having North to have her second child, and she and Kanye did IVF, and they froze her eggs and embryos, and eventually they did get pregnant with Saint, but after her second pregnancy, she had to have 5 surgeries to put her insides back in, and after suffering from preeclampsia, the doctors suggested that she not have any more kids, and she went on to explain that she had come from a big family and that giving North and Saint siblings and completing the family and making the family bigger was something that she and Kanye had wanted, especially after North. So having Saint was a blessing, but she ended up having to carry her next 2 kids via surrogate because the doctors recommended that she either have her uterus taken out or she stopped having children. Eventually, it was brought up of surrogacy, and Kim decided to have a surrogate carry her 2 remaining children. Now that she is done foreseeably having children and having surrogates carry her children, I can't help but think about how the Kardashians appear to have all of this money, and they appear to be wealthy and unbothered, but Kim has dealt with a lot of things in her life. She has dealt with the porn scandal when she was younger and just on the brink of fame. That's kind of what made her famous. She's dealt with her crazy family and all of the scandals in the media. She's dealt with infertility and now autoimmune, and I can't help but think she's not as charmed as the family is seen to be. You know, it's not always a charmed life. In more Kardashian news, apparently this year at the annual Kardashian Christmas party, which was held at Kourtney Kardashian's house, ex Tristan Thompson, Khloe's ex, was invited, and after running into Tristan, Khloe apparently posted some pretty vague things on her Instagram about making mistakes and forgiveness. The 35-year-old star wrote, "You aren't defined by your past, and the beautiful thing about life is that you can always change, grow, and get better." In Us Weekly News, these shows will be saying goodbye in 2020. Supernatural, Modern Family, The Good Place, and more. I mean, you can say that, but how many shows that were canceled 10 to 20 years ago have had reboots? Look at Will and Grace. After 11 years, the show came back and reprised every role in 2017 for 3 more years. And look what they're doing with everything else. They brought back shows like Fuller House, MacGyver, 90210, V, Heroes, Arrested Development, and so many more shows. You know, and when can you say enough is enough? When can you stop beating a dead horse? I feel like that's our culture today. We need to bring everything back and capture the greatness that once was, but I feel like if we keep doing that, we're going to beat all the magic out of it. So, in news of applications, I finally broke down and downloaded TikTok about 3 weeks ago, and I was trying not to do this. I held it off as long as I could because I am a 20-something. I'm not in high school anymore, and since Vine was canceled, I stopped downloading apps. I was on this binge of I want to be peaceful in my social media and I don't want to let it fog up my life and make me jealous, and I want to keep my phone clear of apps. So I avoided downloading any apps that would give heavy traffic to my phone. However, I finally broke down after watching a Jenna Marbles video where she explains via picture-in-picture her favorite TikToks. So, a little bit of background for those of you who don't know what Vine is and weren't familiar with the platform in its popularity. Vine was a platform for users to make 7-second videos. In January 2013, Vine finally launched and blew up through a social network. So, Vine essentially was a new niche of comedy. It was 7-second videos and easy and digestible bits for people to eat up. It wasn't too much. It wasn't too heavy. It was funny. It was short. It was accessible. And Vine kind of formed a new niche of comedy. Most of it was absurd and kind of out of place humor that didn't really make any sense out of context. But sort of like Cats, the movie that just came out, that was the beauty of it. It didn't really make sense. It was absurd and it was out there. It was just goofy. Vine was responsible for several people making their rise to fame. Shawn Mendes started on Vine, Gabriel Conte, the Dolan twins, and several other YouTubers and people that now have their own brands today. They used Vine kind of as a personal marketing, and in the world that is entrepreneurship today, it was crucial and it was such a tool. Unfortunately, in October 2016, Vine announced that it would be shutting down, and people all over the world were devastated. Talks about a Vine 2 happened, but it was never seen through. It was canned. Fast forward to mid-2018, TikTok is the latest viral sensation. As we covered, the internet is now host to lots of Visco girls, and there's a term that the internet has called F-boys, or fill in the blank with the expletive. And so I was very tentative to download TikTok. And I had learned or heard from many sources that TikTok was a foreign-controlled app. It was developed in China, and it was developed so that other countries could gather data on Americans or other users. But that didn't stop me, because Jenna Marbles downloaded it, so why wouldn't I download it? I gave it a shot, and it's still on my phone. I have to say I do spend about an hour on it a day, and I'm not ashamed. So the premise for TikTok is much like Vine. It's a short video social media platform, and you create and share short videos. You can put music to them or text. It's a little bit more advanced than Vine was. I can see the problem with it. It's kind of a catty app. It's interesting if you want some entertainment. There are several different TikTok trends right now. One is embarrassing stories. So you basically type a little story out on your text-to-speech app on the computer and set it to a specific soundtrack, and it sounds really funny when your most embarrassing story is spoken out loud by a computer, and some of them are really graphic, but I think the more graphic, the better. If you're curious, it's brought laughter back into my life. It's crackhead humor for fellow crackheads. Alright, when we come back, we'll be talking about where you can find Channing Tatum on the latest dating app.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC social media podcast, and I did not even know until yesterday that Channing Tatum was dating Jessie J, and I feel kind of silly for that, because I've always been the biggest, and will always be the biggest, Channing Tatum stan, and when he announced a while ago that he was splitting from his wife Jenna Dewan Tatum, I was in shock. How can you split from somebody that you have been with for like 12 years? I feel like in general, society has this idea that love isn't hard, and maybe it's different when you're in it and you've exhausted every single avenue of trying to make it work. But in general, in my generation, we live with this idea that love is supposed to be easy and love is supposed to work. And I feel like that's why so many relationships fail. It's hard. Love is hard. And if I've learned anything over my 20-something years of breathing on this earth, is that people annoy the crap out of you. And it takes work to have a relationship with another person. So yes, I saw this headline the other day and I had to jump on it. Channing Tatum signs up to exclusive dating app after Jessie J split. 1, I didn't even know he was dating Jessie J. 2, is there an exclusive dating app where you can run into Channing Tatum? Apparently a couple of months after Channing Tatum announced his split to wife Jenna, he and Jessie J started dating. And that's a little bit of a red flag right there, honey. You gotta take 6 months. You gotta take 6 months to heal and love yourself. Jumping into another relationship is never going to fix your issues. Apparently, the couple was corny and lovey-dovey. Jessie J went to Channing Tatum's Magic Mike Live. Again, something I didn't know was a thing. Okay. And apparently, Channing Tatum went to Jessie J's concerts. Jessie J, the pop rock crooner, apparently posted on her Instagram story, "Delayed emotions are, well, not so fun." I feel you, girl. Sources say Jay isn't taking the breakup so well, whereas Tatum has apparently found himself on the new dating app Raya. Raya. Us Weekly reports that his personal profile says, "And yes, I used to be a stripper, sorry," along with the shrug emoji. I don't think anybody is complaining. But again, he's on a dating website a month after they broke up. It seems like he might be the one with the issue here. So apparently Raya is a private membership-based social network application for iOS. So it's an app. And it's been around since 2015. It was initially a dating app, but now it is a professional network for members of the entertainment industry. It costs $8 per month, and you must be referred to join. And then your application is voted on by a membership committee. And to add insult to injury, acceptance rate is 8%. Notable members include Ben Affleck, Channing Tatum, Joe Jonas, he has a wife, Demi Lovato, that didn't end up so well, Nicole Byer, Keke Palmer, Sharon Stone, Moby, Lily Allen, Matthew Perry, Raven-Symoné, Niall Horan, and Bob Saget. Okay, we're not missing much. Raya is not advertised and asks that its celebrity users don't mention it by name. If a user screenshots a profile, the app warns them that they may be removed from the platform. Things you need to be accepted on Raya. So apparently, Raya prides itself on being an A-listers only platform, so they don't accept D-listers. They don't accept C-listers, and they don't even accept B-listers. You need 250,000 followers on Instagram to be accepted. Raya states that its app is designed for famous dating, and you must have a unique creative career title to be let on the app. So they basically created this so that celebrities could interact with each other. But my thing is, if you're a celebrity, don't you have all the other celebrities' numbers? So, to end our celebrity dating section, we will be discussing the newest couples of 2019. Starting us off, we have Zooey Deschanel and Property Brothers star Jonathan Scott, who met in early August on Carpool Karaoke. I'm sure you've heard a little bit about this one. So, right after Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth split back in August, Miley was spotted with The Hills' New Beginning star Caitlyn Carter, and then 2 months after that, she was spotted with Cody Simpson. This girl is a mess. Apparently, how they got together was whenever Miley was hospitalized with tonsillitis, Cody serenaded Miley with a song written just for her. How romantic. Probably about her tonsils. Lily Allen and Stranger Things star David Harbour were seen together in August while sitting together during the Vasily Lomachenko and Luke Campbell boxing match in London. To end us off, we have Madonna, who is not shy in the spotlight, and she is rumored to be dating one of her backup dancers who is 35 years younger than her. They were photographed looking intimate on the balcony of their Miami hotel December 14th. Alright guys, when we come back, I will be telling you all about Facebook revenge porn, what it is, who's doing it, and what Facebook plans to do to stop it. Stay right here with the GSMC Social Media Podcast.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Social Media Podcast. So, as I was scrolling through my social media this past week, I saw something that was completely revolting, but honestly not surprising in the least. If none of you are familiar with the term revenge porn, basically two people who are in a relationship They break up, and one of the people, most often the male, uses the sexually graphic pictures, intimate pictures from a partner, and posts them on social media to embarrass and humiliate the partner. I find this incredibly disgusting, and I wonder, why do you have to stoop so low to hurt somebody like that? I get honestly skeeved out because for a girl, if a guy does her wrong, if they break up, she'll cry over him, she'll be heartbroken, maybe she'll key his car, but she's not going to post his nudes. And even if she did, guys, they don't, the damage doesn't happen to guys like if they had sexually explicit photos posted of them. I think the damage done to women is far more harmful than the damage done to men. So another name for these photos are being called non-consensual intimate images, and Facebook has been tasked with fighting these non-consensual intimate images, and this is what they plan to do about it. This is just one account of a victim of non-consensual intimate images. Michaela Zahara, 22, was going through her Instagram 3 years ago when an account bearing her name, photo, and phone number started following her. I had a gut feeling something was about to happen, Zahara told NBC. Her gut was right. Minutes later, friends, family started messaging her saying that the account was uploading photos of her body that she had shared with her boyfriend at the time. She goes on to reveal the different body parts that were shown in the pictures, and they were all graphic. Everything was exposed. I threw up, I started crying, and for a moment I was suicidal. Death sounded more fun than this. Although Instagram took the images down in 20 minutes, the damage was done. I don't know who screenshotted them, she said, but he still has the pictures. It could happen again. He has that hanging around my neck. Zahara was the victim of revenge porn, a form of invasion of sexual privacy and online harassment where the perpetrator, usually a disgruntled ex-partner, posts or threatens to post intimate photos without consent, often with the aim of shaming the subject. I can't wrap my mind around this. So many people would point the finger at her and say, shame her and say, well, you shouldn't be sending those photos. But honestly, every person I know has sent these photos. And I'm not saying that it's a good idea, but I'm saying whenever you trust a person, you don't think that they're ever going to put you on blast like that or try to hurt you in that way. And it's just, humans can be so hurtful. All because what? You broke up with your boyfriend? So to get back at you, he's going to post intimate pictures of you? I don't get that. To combat this problem, Facebook has built a team of about 25 people, not including current content moderators, working full-time to fight the non-consensual sharing of intimate photos and videos. Each month, Facebook, which owns Instagram, has access to 500,000 reports of revenge porn and sextortion. A source familiar with the matter said the team's goal is not only to quickly remove pictures or videos once they have been reported, but also to detect the images using artificial intelligence at the moment they're uploaded. So this is a pretty time-sensitive issue, and Facebook is basically rolling out this whole AI system so that whenever these photos are submitted, the AI will filter them through a specific system that can tackle the problem. But it's complex and culturally nuanced. So in the pilot program, Facebook asked people to preemptively submit their nude photos to Facebook. I'm sure that went over well. The problems they encountered were what counts as an intimate image, which makes it more difficult for an AI to identify it. And they wrestled with what that means for developing tools to take the images down. Facebook's fight against revenge porn is just one of the broader challenges technology platforms face as they grapple with scalable content moderation solutions for ugly human behavior. So this isn't just a problem on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, and all of the small apps. This is a widespread problem. Some people have websites dedicated to this and specialize in compiling all of these images and putting them on one website. And honestly, that's what happened in my high school. Specialty websites show up in Google searches, but unless you are looking for them, no one is going to see your nude photos, said Caitlin Bowden, founder of the victim advocacy group Battling Against Demeaning and Abusive Selfie Sharing. Put that pseudonym together for yourself. The media's reaction to the announcement, which CBS headlined, "Facebook, send us your naked photos to stop revenge porn," was at best mockery, with prominent publications describing it as idiotic and highlighting the risks of sharing one's naked selfies with the social network. I think it's important to acknowledge the steps that people are trying to take in preventing gender-based crime, but it's also important to acknowledge that the definition of an intimate image is not the same from country to country. For example, there was a woman who had found a clothed picture of herself in a pool with a fully clothed man, and although that would be harmless in the U.S., people have different definitions of modesty, and that was shown to her boss and her parents to intentionally harass her. So the stipulations for different situations are different, and it makes intimate image hard to define with a textbook definition. While I think that eventually technology will evolve to make us safer as humans and kind of pick up after our mistakes, people will constantly find other ways to tear people down, and that's the sad part of living in reality. People are nasty, people are cruel, and this isn't just a reality problem either. It's based in fantasy. There are tons of categories online of explicit video, and in these categories, there is a category known as revenge porn. It's a whole porn subgenre, and I feel as if that's almost where we went wrong, You can never really protect yourself fully, because the depravity of the human mind will always find a way to push things to the limit. Bowden and other leaders of victim support groups consulted by Facebook want the social network to take a more personal approach. Facebook doesn't seem to have a whole lot of empathy, Bowden said, of the language the company uses in its policies and reporting systems. One of the most common pieces of feedback offered during Facebook's months of research was that the safest thing you can do is to never share something you wouldn't want other people seeing, and while that is true, that is not helpful for victims after the fact. I feel like I would be traumatized if somebody were to post intimate photos of me in a non-consensual way, and I don't think that I would want to preemptively submit them to Facebook, but hopefully within the next couple of years, as our AI experience grows, we can find a way to better protect ourselves against the harmful power of the internet. Alright, when we come back, the internet is buzzing with the box office flop, Cats, the musical. I will be reading the best reviews that I can find. Stay tuned with the GSMC social media podcast. We'll be right back.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith.
An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
with the GSMC social media podcast. Thanks for staying with us. And as promised, I will be reading the best Cats reviews that I could get my hands on. Now, Cats is taking the film world by storm, and I think not in the best way. It really freaked me out. Did you see what I did? So, I fell asleep. I'm not even going to front. I watched it at home, and I fell asleep. However, when I fell asleep, and when I woke up, my understanding of the movie had not changed from whenever I was fully conscious. I'm trying to say that nobody knows what the heck is going on half the time, and I think that is almost the beauty of it. The beauty in Cats and why it was better received on stage than on screen, in my opinion, was because the script doesn't have a script, and that's a big part of why it doesn't make sense. It is a 2-hour-long, unscripted, mostly sung musical, and the choreography is super heavy, so there's really not a lot of plot. The plot comes through the music, and I think it didn't do well as a box office hit because there was not much for it to lend itself when it came to being made into a film. The reviews for the film were altogether appalling. I think many people were very confused at what they were looking at, and you can tell that when you read the reviews. They're actually quite comical, so I am going to read you the best Cats reviews that I can get my hands on. Here we go. This comes from Kevin Fallon from The Daily Beast. A tribe of neglected cats called the Jellicles gather for the Jellicle Ball, at which they decide which one of them gets to ascend to the Heaviside Lair, their version of heaven, and be reborn into a new life. One by one, they introduce themselves with a song that constantly repeats their name. A famous lady sings memory. In this case, that's Jennifer Hudson, and a wise cat named Old Deuteronomy, played by Judi Dench, chooses the winner, who is then sacrificed, and everybody goes home. In other words, the Jellicle cats are a cult. Essentially, they are a cult. Basically, the premise of Cats is that every night around the same year, the cats gather and attend the Jellicle Ball, where they put on a play, and Old Deuteronomy gets to essentially choose who to sacrifice. So Kevin is not wrong. Essentially, it is a cult. Alright, this one comes from Karen Hahn from Polygon. Cats is a fever dream, a hallucination, an approximation of what would happen if your third eye actually opened and you could suddenly see into the astral plane. There are 3 good things to be said about Andrew Lloyd Webber's Broadway musical Cats. It's an impressive showcase for dancers, the costumes are inventive, and the songs, while nonsense, are catchy. Tom Hooper's film adaptation neuters all 3 aspects. It does, however, have a fully nude but Ken-dolled Idris Elba, Ian McKellen lapping milk out of a platter, cats getting yeeted into thin air, dancing cockroaches with human faces, and Jason Derulo screaming, "Milk!" All of the above is true, and I will reiterate that the Broadway musical was probably so popular because I think people, if they had to watch Cats for 2 hours, they would rather see actual humans dressed up as cats rather than terrifying human-cat hybrids via CGI. The one good thing I will have to say about the soundtrack, being that I was not a fan of this musical at all, I didn't like the music before I saw this, was that there is a pretty impressive song that Taylor Swift sings, and I'm not even a Taylor Swift fan. It's called Beautiful Ghosts. It caught my attention, and I actually thought to myself, I'd probably listen to this later. Alright, on to the next. Elisa Wilkinson from Vox. It was literally incredible. I never want to see it again. pretty much. Okay, this is an audience review. 5 stars. Don't listen to the critics. They hate it because there is no suicide, teen pregnancy, or aliens. If you liked the musical and its score, you will love this on-screen interpretation. The movie takes you deeper into the minds of cats to discover the mischievous antics you always suspected of them. Standout performances were Francesca Hayward and Robert Fairchild. Totally out of place and annoying was James Corden. James Corden looked just like Cat in the Hat with a drinking problem, and I know I'm not the only one who thinks that. Alright, this person gave it 1 star. I feel like my brain went through a blender. I saw the movie twice, and I think it finally broke me. The walls are closing in. Blink twice if you need help. This is 0.5 stars, the lowest I've ever seen. There is no God, and if there was, it died along with the light inside of me after that movie came into existence. Okay. I covered a little bit of this on my GSMC TV podcast, but Cats kind of took me back a little bit. I did not expect it to be captivating at all. I mean, I did fall asleep, but I expected to just turn it off after 10 minutes. I didn't expect it to put me to sleep, but it did bring me back, seeing the music and the dancing and everything that theater promises. Musical theater, more specifically, is sparkly and shiny and big dance numbers and big, beautiful vocal numbers, and seeing Cats made me appreciate that in a roundabout way. And it brought me back to whenever I was younger and I first fell in love with musical theater. I don't do it anymore. I did it from the time I was 11 to about 21, so 10 or so years. And I remember being a kid and seeing Annie and just falling head over heels in love with musical theater. And although this movie is crazy and not marketed to children at all, because why would it be? It's a musical about the sacrifice of felines. You really have to think about where was the audience here, because adults really wouldn't pay to see this. But when I was a kid, seeing Annie was what absolutely made me fall in love with musical theater. And I went out and I bought some tap shoes, and I told my mom I wanted to get into dance lessons, and I spent the next 10 years of my life enjoying it. So the movie was absurd, but all in all, I'm thankful for the art, because this movie could be what Annie was to me. You know, this movie could be some 8-year-old's fever dream into the world of musical theater, and we have to respect it for what it does. People don't have a rhyme or reason for being in the arts. Honestly, you make art because you feel, and you feel because you make art. So those are my crazy review of Cats. For my next and final segment, I'll be listing the top 10 moments and scandals of 2019 in the social media world. So the moments that made 2019 totally stop in its tracks. I'll be right back with the GSMC Social Media Podcast.
The GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
So I think we can all agree that 2019 has been a crazy, crazy year. So many crazy things have happened. I'm going to name them for you. So the top 10 scandals of 2019, we're going to go through them, and we'll go ahead and start. We'll start with Jussie Smollett's alleged attack. So back in late January 2019, Empire star Jussie Smollett claimed that he had been the victim of a hate crime. Instantly, high-profile names came to Smollett's defense. Senators Kamala Harris and Cory Booker even appealing to Congress to pass an anti-lynching bill in light of the alleged attack. I remember this particularly because in this specific instance, the tension, the racial tension, and the hate speech and the hate crime against the black community with police brutality and the All Lives Matter movement, if you can even call it a movement, more like a weak comeback from the Caucasian persuasion. When this was happening, all that was going on. So when the Chicago PD investigated the Jussie Smollett attack case, cracks started happening in the story, and a full-scale investigation was launched. As it turns out, the authorities ended up charging Smollett with disorderly conduct, believing that he had staged the event. The actor maintained his innocence throughout the investigation, and the charges were dropped, but it was already too late. The actor had been quietly phased out of the musical drama. And the backlash that Smollett faced, even if he had made the attack up, it does not diminish the plight of the African American community and the black community. It doesn't. And I think that the despicable thing was that certain people were so quick to use this one-off scandal as a chance to diminish and quiet the black community, and that personally frustrated me more than anything, as I'm sure it did others. Alright, Mute R. Kelly. Hashtag Mute R. Kelly became a movement. So the dastardly deeds of R&B singer R. Kelly have been common knowledge for decades, but in 2018, the musician was forced to pay for his crimes 2 years after the jaw-dropping BuzzFeed News expose that revealed the sordid details of Kelly's alleged sex cult. Lifetime released Surviving R. Kelly, a 6-part documentary about the numerous sexual abuse allegations against the singer. The documentary included interviews with Kelly's victims as well as statements from their parents and industry peers, and it spurred an official police investigation. Kelly is currently awaiting trial in a Brooklyn jail, dealing with both federal and state charges, accusing him of committing numerous sex crimes and obstructing justice. Despite the mountain of evidence against him, the singer maintains his innocence. I actually just saw something today on him and how he somehow manipulated one of his lawyers or agents into trying to allow him to marry Aaliyah, who was 15 at the time, so doesn't look too good for him. Things are still coming out about this. Ooh, this is my favorite. Okay. Operation Varsity Blues, aka the college admissions scandal. This year, Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, Aunt Becky, among others, found themselves at the center of a massive federal investigation. The FBI discovered that they were among an affluent group of 33 parents who had allegedly paid William Singer, founder of college prep company The Key, to falsely position their children as competitive athletic recruits and paid test administrators to fake their test scores, all to get their kids accepted into certain colleges. Okay, why take the opportunity away from well-meaning families when your children are obviously already special. You don't need to pay their way in to get into a college. All they have to do is work hard. They'll pretty much have things handed to them. Huffman pleaded guilty to charges of bribery and fraud and served 11 days in prison. Laughlin, on the other hand, declined the plea deal and instead chose to not plead guilty in court. She and her husband, Massimo Giannulli, each face up to 45 years in prison. All right. Next, Hannah Brown, Tyler Cameron, and Gigi Hadid's love triangle. The drama in Hannah Brown's love life didn't stop after her Bachelorette season ended. After cutting ties with fiancé Jed Wyatt, she seemingly reunited with second runner-up Tyler Cameron during the last episode of the show. However, just a few days later, Tyler was spotted out and about in New York City with model Gigi Hadid, much to the surprise of Bachelor Nation and Hannah herself. I didn't hear much on this, and I watched the show religiously. When Bachelor season airs again, we will have lots of fun. So, the James Charles Toddy Westbrook scandal. Back around the time of Coachella, after sharing an Instagram ad for a vitamin company, Sugar Bear Hair, during Coachella, Charles found himself on the outs with his friend and fellow beauty influencer Toddy Westbrook, who quickly took to YouTube to voice her displeasure and make very incendiary comments, accusing him of being a disloyal friend and using his status as an influencer to prey on straight men. He lost over 2 million followers on YouTube due to the controversy, and as his subscriber count declined, so did his many potential brand partnerships and his sales at Ulta. Khloe Kardashian, Tristan Thompson, and Jordan Woods cheating allegations. We talked about Khloe earlier in the show. Scripted or otherwise, drama and the Kardashian-Jenners go together like peanut butter and jelly. Tristan Thompson already cheated on Khloe before this. There were already rumors going around, but things got even more complicated with allegations that Tristan had stepped out on Khloe with Jordan Woods, the longtime best friend of her younger sister. To make matters worse, she appeared on an episode of Jada Pinkett Smith's The Red Table Talk to tell her side of the story. The internet was split on the matter, some siding with Khloe and others firmly being Team Jordan. One other thing was clear: the bond between Jordan and the Kardashians was broken. Stacey, some crazy name with a K, Karanikolaou, has since moved into Kylie's #1 best friend spot. That's sad, but honestly, Tristan cheated on Khloe twice, and Jordan, she's your best friend's sister. Like, Liam Neeson's problematic confession. And I had not even heard about this one until I was researching for this cast. So, while filming Cold Pursuit, Liam Neeson said that when he discovered that somebody close to him had been the victim of sexual assault, the discovery led him to seek out black men in his area, hoping that he'd be approached by somebody. He said he's ashamed to admit that, and he did it for a week, maybe hoping that some black man would come out of a pub and have a go about me, so that I could kill him. What shameless display of profiling. All right, honorable mentions. Gina Rodriguez posting a video on her Instagram story saying the N-word while singing along to Ready or Not, the rap classic made popular by the Fugees. Kim Kardashian West's kimono shapewear line needing a rebrand name after being a repeated act of cultural appropriation. The battle for Taylor Swift's songs with Scooter Braun, Prince Harry and Meghan's war on the British tabloids, the Ryan Adams New York Times expose, another creep, A$AP Rocky's Stockholm scandal, Scarlett Johansson's comment that she could be able to play any role, and the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Which one was your favorite? Which one did you not hear about? I, for one, am very excited to leave the drama in 2019, and I'm excited to ring in the new year. Thank you for listening to the GSMC podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to wish all of our viewers a very safe and happy new year. And I would also ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show, write a nice review. Also, if you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, that would help us a lot. Thank you, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.